Hello, fellow yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini, and we're your hosts of Binge Yap Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge watching TV, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
Fair warning, this is a spoiler-friendly zone. We will be discussing lots of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's yap time. Hello, yappers. Welcome back to another episode of Binge Yap Repeat. I think we'll just do a couple admin items and then we'll get into the secret lives of Mormon wives.
I feel like you're switching between your work voice and
my gremlin voice.
I was like, what do I call the other one?
Yeah, my personalities be like.
We'll just go through the first few admin items and then we'll talk about secret lives of Mormon.
Then we'll get fucked up. Okay, so I have something very exciting to talk to you about, but first, admin things. We're officially done with our backlog, so that means that all of the episodes from here on out are going to be fresh, hot off the press. I literally just finished Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Season 2, like 10 minutes before this episode, before we started recording it.
I'm so impressed with us that we've watched all 10 episodes of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives in essentially 2 days. Yeah. Both of those days were working days, so
yeah,
that is
full-time jobs, you guys. It's not podcasting.
We are not getting that back from this podcast.
This is filling our cup emotionally, but definitely not financially.
We have sunk more money into this than we've made, aka zero.
Yeah, well, anyway, we're done with our backlog, so that means that we won't have any random oopsie doopsies throughout the episode. But you guys didn't even notice that. But it also,
you never know. When I'm editing, I might just throw some in there.
This is a game changer.
We'll see.
But it also means that we don't have any more random audio issues from episode to episode.
Yeah, we're so sorry about the audio quality for the last 3 episodes. As we were editing, we were like, oh my God, why is this so bad? Well, we know why it's so bad. It's because I didn't have a good mic for the first few episode recordings we did.
You didn't have your mic, like, even my audio was thrown off, and it was just like bad all around. But you know what? Nobody listens anyway. Except for you, Jackie. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Shout out to Jackie, our #1 fan who watches none of the shows, but listens to every one of our podcast episodes.
She's our podcast mom. Okay. Are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
My friend Ariel texted me today, and she was like, Ruchi, how did you know that Taylor and Tyler were broken up before they started filming Temptation Island?
You were right.
My theory was correct. And, okay, so just to prove to you and all of our listeners that I did actually predict this, is they came out on the Vile Files and talked about it. And the Vile Files came out on March 27th. And we recorded our Temptation Island episode part 1 on March 16th.
Oh my goodness. How you are so perceptive.
Body language.
Oh my God.
Sorry to all you folks who are just listening, but I did a full-on shimmy. Yeah, so anyway, I felt like that Captain Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine when he's like, vindication! That was me today. I was like, I am so happy that we're recording today, and I can't wait to tell Shalini about this.
Wow, so what's the story? What did they say on Vile Files?
Yeah, so that's what I tried to look up before we recorded this. So they basically, I think what happened is they didn't really have like a long discussion about this, but Taylor and Tyler, the night before, they were trying to figure out what seats to like get next to each other. And so on the way there, they got seats next to each other on the airplane. And then Taylor was choosing seats for them on the way back. And Tyler was like, I think it's best if we don't sit next to each other on the way back.
Wait, does that I mean, that tells us that they thought they were going to break up, but does that confirm that they were broken up?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if that meant like that they were broken up, but like I'd be so pissed if I were going to a reality TV show with my boyfriend and on the way back we're picking our seats and he's like, "Yeah, I actually don't want to sit next to you." I'd be like, "Okay, fuck you too."
Wow, that's wild. Okay, so they had definitely emotionally divested from the relationship and agreed to break up, but just hadn't sealed the deal yet.
Yeah, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that also explains Taylor being like really pissed off on day one.
They were both pretty nasty to each other on day one.
Yeah, there's also a lot of other stuff that I read on the Vile Files from that reunion that was also pretty fucked up. I mean, it's like, all the stuff that we expect, like Tyler's a piece of shit, Ed's a piece of shit. Yeah, for the most part, the broader themes are there and we've already
Okay.
discussed it, but yeah. Anyway,
Crazy. I wonder if Ashley and Grant booked seats next to each other.
it's a good question.
Because he cheated even before Tyler did.
That's true. That's true. Oh, the other thing that I saw in Vile Files is that Grant and shoot, what was the girl name? Natalie.
Natalie.
Grant and Natalie, as well as Tyler and Kay, stayed back a couple days on the island, just the four of them.
The
So
four of them? That was an option? Wait, I thought Tyler and Kay left. I guess they didn't have to leave immediately.
yeah, like we said, what does leaving the island together even mean? Because they also said that they didn't even date after the show ended. So
Right.
like they did not leave the island, nor did they date. So what does leaving the island together mean?
That label is as non-committal as the men on this show.
Uh, okay, well, from one reality show to another, shall we talk about Secret Lives?
All right. Today we will be talking about the highly anticipated season 2 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. This show aired on Hulu on Thursday, May 15th. We are recording this Tuesday, May 20th. It was about 10 hours of content that we got through, and we had a bachelorette party this past weekend. So we're
Yeah.
doing it for you, listeners. And by listeners, I mean Jackie. Thank you, Jackie.
Jackie.
The Google series synopsis of the show is a group of Mormon mum influencers get caught in the midst of a swinging sex scandal that makes international headlines. So I guess that was definitely the hook for season 1, but I would actually say more accurately for this season is that it's about Mormon mom influencers who are just experiencing the aftermath of a quick rise to fame. Would you agree with that?
So true. Let's do overall thoughts. Okay, well, yes. And I guess just to respond to your season two synopsis, definitely, because I do think a lot of I wanted to say characters just now, but they're real people. I think a lot
They're
of
not characters.
that's true. A lot of these people I did think changed a lot from season one, so
Yes,
I'm ready to talk about that.
to me.
Yes, exactly. You know it. Yeah. Okay, so overall thoughts. I think I mentioned this before, but I was watching Devil's Plan before this, so it was pretty big show whiplash. I do remember really liking season one, but I feel like I couldn't really get into season two as quickly as I did season one, probably because of my probably because I was watching Devil's Plan before, so I needed a palate cleanser that I didn't get in between. I needed a 101 Dalmatians in between Devil's Plan and Secret Lives. Um, but I felt like I think it was maybe episode 4 or 5 that I felt I was like, okay, I'm back into this again. I remember, and I can't wait to see how this plays out. So I don't think I was super into it as much as I was in season one, but it was still a good watch.
I was really excited for this season because I caught on to the show a bit late last fall. I think it aired in September 2024, and I don't think I watched it for at least a month after it came out. And I was so hooked on season one that I was really excited for season two now that I know all the people and I'm watching it right when it airs. Um, but I ended up thinking this season was so chaotic, it was hard to follow all the drama. And a lot of the times I thought that the producers were just instigating drama. Not only where you actually hear the people behind the camera asking these super leading questions to the wives, but also just in some of the plot lines that happen, I was like, this is really unrealistic that someone would just think to start this conversation. This was definitely the producers. And so I thought they just did a little too much. I thought season one had a pretty consistent arc of, Whitney's downfall, Demi's kind of comeuppance into becoming the reasonable point of view, Jen's marriage towards the end, and I guess Taylor's chaotic pregnancy throughout all of that. And I thought this season it was just so hard to tell what they were trying to do with it. I was like, is
Mm.
Jen the villain? Is Demi the villain? Is Taylor the villain? Is Whitney still the villain? They were trying to do too many things. And it's crazy to me that this whole filming was within a span of 2 months. I actually think if they took longer. Yeah, right, because
I didn't know that.
they start with a Halloween party and they end with a Christmas party. And so I think the whole thing was over around 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. But I think if they had taken a little bit longer, they could see the themes a little more clearly and actually put together coherent storylines. So that's kind of what I thought. So I was taking notes for this show as I was watching, and I was taking them really sparsely because, like we've mentioned, this was after a weekend trip and I was really tired. So I was just kind of writing down, like, oh, don't forget about Demi and Jesse, and then Jen, and barbecue. And
Yeah.
then I went back to my notes and I was like, I don't even know what these were about because so much has happened with all of these characters.
Wait, speaking of being really tired, just like one quick thing. As I was listening to the Deli Boys episode that just dropped today, there is such a marked difference between our energy levels when we're recording like the intro or the binge in progress segments that we recorded recently versus the actual episode. We're so dead tired. Even our voices are down here in our lower register. And then when we start the episode, we're like,
I know.
this is crazy how tired we are. Anyway, sorry. Back to the
Anyway,
this.
yeah. So anyway, I still ate the show up. Like I still really binged it super fast and it was enjoyable to watch in the moment, but looking back, I'm like, what was that? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. It kind of felt like the most recent season of Selling Sunset, where maybe it was either the most recent season or the season before that, where people were just like, "Oh, I have issues with you because it I mean, 5 years ago you were at a party and then you like looked at me the wrong way." It was like that level of drama, and then the other person's like, literally what?
What?
Like we've had so many friendly conversations since that day that I don't believe that saying that one thing about you 5 years ago is actually what's like eating at you right now. And it kind of felt like that a little bit. It was still a little bit of manufactured drama, but then also I think there were, yeah, yeah, definitely like a little bit of manufactured drama, especially between Jesse and Demi.
Yeah. That one made me sad.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Demi. I think Demi was the one who changed the most, especially for me as a viewer, because I remember at the end of season one, I was like, Demi was my favorite because she really came after Whitney. I really disliked Whitney in season one. I was like, she really made Whitney own up to her shit. She was calling her out. Finally, someone's calling Whitney out for the bad friend that she's being. I'm so glad Demi's doing this, and she's really come out of the woodwork. I didn't think I was gonna like her, but now I really do. And that's how season one ended. And after this season ended, I was like, Demi fake as fuck.
Yeah, she
Or
just it was so meta in a way because season one is the reason for her downfall in season two. It was crazy. She was like, well, I was clearly the fan favorite, so yeah, people like me because I'm so honest and I tell the truth. So this is why I should be winning all of these arguments because I know this is what the people want. And it's like, girl, we liked 5 hours of your life from season one. Like, please do not extrapolate. It's too fast.
seriously. Yeah, I also thought it was really interesting how the end of season one, like Demi was the fan favorite because she went after Whitney, and then by season two, Whitney and Demi are friends.
It's,
What?
yeah, it was really odd.
Why is Whitney back in Mom Talk and Miranda isn't? I'm also so confused by that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we can get into Miranda, but about Whitney. So, A, it was confusing that Demi was open to letting Whitney back in the group. B, it was double confusing when Whitney then was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad." Because remember, so I guess first, Demi did not go to her baby shower because she did the hibachi night at Jesse's house, I think, or someone's house. But then they had a conversation in Arizona, I think, and Whitney was like, "Would you hang out with me?" And Demi was like, "Sure." And Whitney was so happy. And so I was confused about that. Then I was confused because Whitney directly after brings up drama between Demi and Jesse. And then she's like, "Oh, I just wanted the heat off my back, so I just started a little drama between Demi and Jesse." I'm like, girl, it was funny, but I was like, you are so short-sighted. She just always does this. She sees who is starting to accept her back and then starts taking them for granted immediately and then starts shit and then tries to make whoever look like the bad guy regardless of how they treat her.
Yeah,
Oh, Whitney. Oh, Whitney.
they're all so messy. So do you think Demi is just out in Mom Talk now? Like forever? Well, not forever, but
Well, I did a little Instagram sleuthing. She hasn't been in any videos with the crew since the end of filming in 2024. That I saw. There were some comments on her posts from Macy and I want to say Michaela, maybe. Um, Supportive comments, but nothing else. She hasn't been in any group TikToks since, or I haven't checked TikTok, so I'll say anything, any group Instagram stuff. But she and Whitney have been making content together.
so wild to me. If you would have
It's
told
absolutely wild.
like me at the end of season one that me and Whitney would be making TikToks together and no one else, I'd be like, what? Oh, speaking of TikToks, a lot of the source of the drama in season two was like, oh, Mom Talk is a business, but it's also a friendship, and like the mission of Mom Talk is empowering women. And then there was one line by Zach, Jen's husband, who was like, are you really sure that's what Mom Talk is about now? Because it doesn't seem like that. It seems like the show and like the reason why people are watching you aren't is not about empowering women. It's about like
Shitting on each other.
yeah, like shitting on each other and like having cat fights and having a ton of drama. Like, is that empowering women? I was like, Zach. Zach also being a character who did a complete 180 from the last season.
Uncharacteristic lines from Zach the entire season. At first, I was like, this dude's full of bullshit. And I just thought he had really good PR training. And so was saying all the right things, even if he didn't believe them. But then as the show went on, I was like, hmm, Zach has made some good points.
Exactly. I was like, oh, he's not just going to therapy and then parroting the words and therapy speak in order to make himself sound right. It's like he's actually listening, he's thinking about it, he's digesting, and then saying things that actually make sense and are reasonable. Very unlike last season.
Yeah. What happened between last season and this season for such a stark turnaround?
I think it's just like social media has such a strong effect on all of these people's lives that I mean, I would take a good hard look at myself too if 50 to 100 people were in my DMs telling me to kill myself or that they were going to kill me if
Yeah.
I did anything like that. I would be like, what did I do that was so wrong? I mean, like, first I would be very scared, but I'd be like, maybe I did overreact a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it does take a level of humility, though, that I wouldn't have expected Zach to have to see those comments and actually look inward versus just being like, fuck all these people for saying what they're saying. I know I'm a good person. You know, Grant from Temptation Island would
Yeah.
never react this way.
But I think the other reason is that it did destroy his marriage a little
Yeah.
bit. So
Yeah.
maybe those two pieces of evidence combined was like, okay, I need to fix this because this is something that's important to me.
Yeah. What did you think of Zen and Jax, of Jen and Zach's storyline this season?
Dude, I thought it was so funny, the whole like Ben Affleck situation.
That storyline was hilarious.
Oh my God. And also, did you notice the shade that the editors threw at them because they they just dropped the
They were like,
Affleck? Yeah. I was like, damn, she's still Jen Affleck. She's
still
not,
her last name.
yeah, she's not Jen Affleck.
That was so funny. Although I do believe that she believed it. You know, I
Yes.
don't think she was making it up. I don't think she was full of shit for that, but it was hilarious.
Yeah. I think Jen is a little dumb, you know? I hate to say it, but I think she's a little dumb.
I don't know if I think she's dumb, but I definitely think that the majority of her actions that we saw in season 2 were just a trauma response for things in the past. I guess, for example, her kind of telling different stories to her friends, Demi and Jesse, versus to Zach, about, using her husband's medical school money when he used it for gambling.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, just things like that where it's happened a few times where people were like, why is Jen telling different stories to different people? And I really think that's a trauma response coming from the emotional abuse that Zach put her through, of
Mm.
just feeling the need to appease anyone you're with a side of the truth and not the whole truth. So I initially I was thinking, wow, Jen is really the villain of this season. Well, this was also before she left the show and before the whole Demi stuff happened, but I was like, oh, Jen is kind of turning into the villain of the season. But then I was like, I really don't think it's fair to fault her for this because I really think it's not malicious. It's literally a trauma response and being scared of repercussions.
That's true. Yeah, maybe I'm a little harsh on her. I can see that being the case. I think it definitely is, but the thing is, I don't think she really like thinks things through this season. So one example of that was the whole Chippendales thing, right? Where there's a whole like scandal about the Chippendales thing and Zach being upset about Jen about going to Chippendales. So this season, Jesse and Demi throw a party where their husbands dress up like Chippendale dancers with an actual Chippendale performer and like dance up on Jen. And then all of the footage from that scene is Jen loving it. And then later, Zach is like, oh, Jen, that was really fucked up what they did. They're disrespecting me, they're disrespecting our relationship. Did they even tell you that this would happen? And she was like, I think they may have mentioned it. And then it goes back to the footage and she's like, "Ah, I love that. I love it." And I was like, okay, well, yeah, like they did tell you about it. Of course, they're not going to
Yeah.
tell you everything because they even said that there will be surprises. But you can't sit there and you obviously like it, but then your husband is like, oh, did you think about what their intentions were? And then she's like, oh, I just thought about the idea itself. I didn't think about the intention behind the idea, I guess.
Also think that's a trauma response of her saying, I think they might have mentioned it. I think that's her softening reality to appease Zach's reaction to it, or to kind of mitigate a negative reaction from Zach. Because if she was like, yeah, they told me about it, he'd be like, well, then what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
So I think she was softening that. And then when he tried to like lecture her on like, this is why you have to think through the consequences, blah, blah, blah. I think that was also just her being like, okay, it's just easier in this moment to agree with this. That that was
Mhm.
my read on it. Because I've seen relationships like that where the one person is a little more dominating and the other person just kind of appeases them. And it happens short term so often that it just turns into a pattern, and then that's just
Mhm.
what the person does.
Yeah, I see. I think also Zach did get called out on that. Remember at the golf course where he's golfing with Brett
Brett
and
and Jordan.
Jordan. Yeah, he's golfing with Brett and Jordan, and then Brett's like, well, you got to think about your own response to these things and think about why she would say that to you when she actually did hear the truth. Like she might be responding to you in a way that is not gonna, result in her getting yelled at. And so you have to be mindful of that as well. But then he took that feedback really well and was like,
Yeah,
oh, you're right. I do have the tendency to like react super negatively. So I think that was also another form of growth that I saw in Zach.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Also, I did feel really bad for Jen when she found out that she was pregnant. And
That
she
was
was just,
so devastating.
yeah, my heart really broke for her.
Yeah, she really reminds me of this one Taylor Swift lyric from the song Daylight on the Lover album. It's clearing the air, I breathed in the smoke, where I think she's just trying to keep so many people in her life happy that in order to do so, she's just taking on all of the stress of it. And and so when she found out she was pregnant, that was just the tipping point of I can't do this too.
Yeah, wow, that was so beautifully put.
Wow. Thank you. Taylor Swift is a poet, people.
She really is. Yeah. Yeah, but I did feel really bad for her. And then the fact that she was just like, I can't do mom talk. I'm just like I'm literally so depressed. And then she even sent that video of her crying. She cries so beautifully.
She does. She's so gorgeous.
Yeah, she's so pretty. They're all so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I felt so bad for her.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So going back to kind of her trauma response, the last thing I'll say here is that, when they were kind of debriefing the whole Chippendale situation, and it was, I think, one of their last conversations about it when they were on that walk in nature, and then it cut to just the audio because yeah, whatever happened. But in that conversation earlier on, well, my read was that he was upset not because it was Chippendales and that he was jealous, but more because she's calling these people her friends who are intentionally doing this in a mean-spirited way. That was
Mm,
my read on it. And then her response was, this is reminding me of Vegas. And then he got kind of upset at her for saying that. He was like, come on, this is not the same as Vegas. And I think, for her it was just like triggering from Vegas because Chippendales happened and then he was mad. And then this time Chippendales happened and then he was mad. But for him, he was like, no, I'm not even jealous about it anymore. It's just that you're still calling these people your friends when they're clearly trying to tear you down.
mm,
Um, yeah, so that was another instance of, I think, her trauma response and also showing Zach's growth in a way.
Yeah, true. I mean, Zach still wasn't pleased about it, about Chippendales at the party.
Yeah, in the moment he was definitely not pleased about it, but he did not take it out on her, I thought. I thought. Who knows what happened behind closed doors, honestly.
True.
I would believe it if he wasn't as nice to her when the cameras were off, but from what we saw, it really read to me like what he was upset about was not the fact that she participated in a Chippendales thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but also, I mean, we know that Jen has the tendency to listen to one person's view, then develop that person's view and adopt that person's view as her own, and then go to someone else and be like, oh, you did this to me. And then the other person's like, well, at the time, you didn't say anything about it. You were completely fine. So I think when she then goes to Jesse and is like, your husband rubbed his little dick on me. I don't think that was a Jen thought. I think that was a Zach thought.
Interesting. I would believe that. Yeah, it also kind of came out of nowhere. I I think she and Zach need to get a divorce. I think they bring out the worst in each other.
I totally agree. Yeah,
And neither one is really the villain at this point. It's just
they're not good
they are
together.
not good together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which makes the fact that she's pregnant even more heartbreaking.
I know.
Ugh. Yeah.
And do you know what the Mormon Church's stance on abortion is? I would assume it's anti, but I have
It's
not actually looked
pro
this up.
pro-life.
Kill those babies!
Yeah, you think you think the Mormon church you think the Mormon church with people who have 6 kids by the time they're 30 is pro-abortion?
Why did I even bother asking? I know the answer.
Actually, 3 is the new 6.
Oh my god. Thank God it's trending in that direction.
Yeah, maybe they are pro-abortion.
For three, keep three.
My God. Jesus.
Okay, maybe I'll get that.
Man.
Uh,
Um, I do have one thing that I want to
oh,
talk about.
okay.
What is ketamine therapy?
They had this in season 1, do you remember?
I do remember, and I remember looking at the IVs and being like, huh? But I didn't have a podcast last season, and now I do. So now I can record the answer when you tell me.
Yeah, ketamine is an anesthetic of some sort. It is used recreationally. In this situation, I think it's used in a very controlled environment. I would guess that it's extreme microdosing that isn't enough of a dose to become addictive, but it's used to treat extreme depressive disorder. And so I think it can just help, I don't know, maybe just form connections in a way that when you're in a depressive state, it's very hard to do and kind of get out of your funk. I think that's what it's used for.
But what is like the therapy part?
I think it's literally just microdosing is the therapy. Because it didn't look like they talked to a therapist or anything. I think they just like had a little trip and then came back.
Yeah. That I think that's also what threw me off is she was like, "Oh, ketamine therapy." I was like, "Oh, that probably means they're gonna take ketamine and then like talk to each
Talk
other, or,
about
like
their feelings.
yeah, talk over their feelings or like talk to a therapist." But then they just like went completely sensory deprivation mode, and I was like, "What? What part of this is therapy?"
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it seemed to work for them, regardless. I
Yeah,
think.
something opened up for them. Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Another two people that are also really terrible together and that I am glad they are apart, Taylor and Dakota.
Do you think when season 3 comes out, they're gonna be like, yeah, we're still sleeping together?
Probably, yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Oh, Dakota and Taylor. Another couple that just needed to end it. So messy.
As messy as their son Ever's poopy pants.
With no wipes.
No likies.
Do you want to talk about the barbecue at Taylor's mom's house?
That was in like the first episode or the
Yeah,
second
I
episode.
think episode 2.
Yeah, I did write that down as something to discuss. What the fuck? Why is her family so terrible to her?
Literally so horrible. It was making me so sad that this man, Dakota, he intentionally deceived her about sleeping with that girl, Jenna, or doing whatever they did if they didn't have sex. And he has the audacity to come in the house and curry favor with the family, and they have the audacity to take his side.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
was so livid when her brother was like, relationships are not 50-50. They're 100 on both sides, and your side is lacking.
I was like, okay, live, laugh, love, all right? Like,
Yeah, fuck off, dude. And then when her dad, I guess stepdad, was like, you like called him over to have sex with you, what does that say about you?
Yeah, I really did not like that.
Oh my God, I was so livid.
Really did not like that. And also the he basically changed his tune about Taylor when she went to the CMA Awards and did the hosting thing, and then he was like, "Oh my God, so many people were texting me. I'm so proud of you." It was like the Super Bowl. I was like, "You were literally slut shaming her 2 episodes ago."
It's so sad. You know what the sad part is that what he told Jenna about his relationship with Taylor, that he's just using her for clout, is true.
Wait, who? Dakota or
Yeah, remember when Jenna meets up with
oh,
Taylor and they're going through Jenna's texts. Jenna's like, "Yeah, he told me that you and him weren't serious at all and he was just using you for clout on social media." And that was so shocking to Taylor, and which fair enough because he was telling her one thing, but I think that was truly the truth.
I think so. I think it's the truth too.
Yeah.
Same with Chase. Such a clout chaser.
Oh my God, Chase. I was like, what the fuck are you doing here, dude?
Yeah.
And
I
everyone was
like
like, "Are
how
you happy with your one moment of fame?" And he's like, "No, I'm not."
and I also like how they kept in that quote where Jesse's like, "Oh yeah, I told Kate that she should test him," and Kate told Chase like, "Oh, I don't feel like going to the Halloween party anymore." And then Chase was like, "We have to go."
That was
Laughed.
very telling.
Yeah, very
Very
telling.
telling.
I hope they broke up.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like by the end of that party, she didn't want to be with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I did really like her Hailey Bieber costume.
But
I thought that
yeah,
was
she
very,
seems
very
like a
accurate.
very pretty, very sweet girl.
Yeah. Oh, that moment where she and Miranda and Taylor are all hugging was so healing.
Sisterhood. Oh wait, someone's at the door. No.
Sisterhood.
Sisterhood. Oh my God, dude, Michaela. I was
Oh,
like,
Michaela.
as soon as they started thinking about who is muting who, I was like, this is not gonna go where you planned it.
Wait, before we get into that, because I do want to talk about that. Last thing about Chase. Chase touching Demi. I think, okay, well, A, she definitely blew it out of proportions, but also I think they used the wrong clip because you know how when he was explaining what happened, he was like, "Oh, I went up to her and I was like, hey, do you know where Brett is? Or do you know where blah, blah, blah is?" But that's not the clip they showed. The clip they showed was just him walking past her and not even acknowledging her. So I think it was
Yeah, they
also a
showed
little bit of editing magic.
no. They showed him walking past her, and he was like, "Where's your husband?" Kind of like mind your own business. Because she was like, "Oh, where's Kate? Where's Kate? Like, where's your girlfriend? She just left." And then he just like walked by her and was like, "Where's your husband?"
But
And
we
then like
didn't even see his finger in that shot.
it was kind of like down below. He had like patted her. He patted her and was like, "Where's your husband?" And then left.
And that was laying hands on her.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, this must not be the clip. I think the the show is trying to make it seem like it was nothing, but it was something, but then Demi turned it to a lot.
Yeah.
But I guess
Demi
okay.
really escalated, or Demi really escalated.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Demetria.
Demetria. Going back to Brett's advice to Zach, he really was showing all 50 years of wisdom there.
Dude,
And I'm like,
okay.
"Oh, how are you with Demi?"
Yeah. Brett is so ugly.
Oh,
Dude.
you were gonna say he's so wise.
Oh, no. He's like wise in a way where he is like smug about it. You know what I mean? It's like he says things that are technically correct, but the way that he says them, I'm like, you're so ugly. Like, stop.
Someone as ugly as you shouldn't be saying these things. I don't think he's ugly. I think he's fine looking, but I think his face like his smile looks like a smirk, which makes everything he says look like he's really smug about it.
That
He's
might
like,
be it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he just
yeah.
like is yeah, I think that is what reads to me as ugly. I'm just like, I don't even want to hear anything you have to say, even if it comes from a good place, because you're so ugly. Oh, and you know who else is ugly? Layla's boyfriend, Cam.
Oh,
Oh,
Cam. It's mostly his hair. Also his face, but his hair really doesn't help.
true. I'm just like, Layla is so hot, and Cam is a boy.
And Cam is also there.
Yeah. And then when she was like, "Oh, we're having problems," I was like, "Thank God, I don't have to see him on my screen anymore." Jeez. And then he came back, and I was like, "Fuck."
These are real people, Ruchi.
You just said they were a character. Okay, well,
Um,
Cam isn't problematic, so I can't. Well, yeah. Well, we don't know.
yet.
Jury is out.
His dad was a bishop, so I'm sure he has some antiquated beliefs.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Okay, we jumped around from couple
We'll
to
see.
couple to couple.
Oh, yeah. Should we go back to Demi and Brett or Michaela muting herself?
Oh yeah, we should go all the way back there.
Alright, so Michaela has this conversation with, I'm guessing Whitney. I actually don't
Whitney.
remember.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Whitney. Against her will.
Yeah, against her will. I felt bad for her. She was really up against the wall there, but Michaela has this conversation with Whitney and she's like, "Okay, but Macy, you have to be listening in on a phone call secretly, and when I say sisterhood, you have to come save me." And then this bitch mutes herself.
And poor Macy's like, I don't hear anything.
What would you have done in that situation if you were Macy?
I would have hung up, honestly. I would have been like, if she's muted herself, what is the point of me continuing to be on this call? At least I'll hang up so that she knows she has to call me back.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. But then I had the second thought that maybe she would mute herself again because she thought that I did something wrong.
I would hang up again. I feel like we can play this song and dance all day long. You know what? Oh, Whitney. We're like, Whitney, girl, put me on mute. No, you.
Just leave me there.
Hey, girl. So we had a plan, and it's not really working out. So
Can you help us out? Oh my gosh, I thought it was funny afterwards when she was like, "Yeah, you muted yourself, you ding dong." Very cute.
you know what I really loved? How Michaela and Macy are pregnant at the same time, just 2 weeks apart.
Dream.
I want to be pregnant with a friend.
Okay. That will be the dream. That will be the reality. Today it is a dream.
Yes, one day, one day.
Okay, do we want to talk about Jesse and Demi?
Oh, yes. Oh, I felt
Ugh,
so bad.
I know that their friendship was one of my favorites from season one and the first half of the season. But I really think Demi has wronged her so many times. I would not fault Jesse. I mean, it seems from social media that they're no longer friends, and I can totally understand why.
Really? Okay, I love that for Jesse. I was a little worried that Jesse was also a little bit of a people pleaser and was kind of just getting, what is it, like railroaded? What is that term? When you're just like rail track? Railroad? I feel like Demi was dominating Jesse in the friendship. Like
Yes.
Demi was like, "You are my sidekick, Jesse," and then Jesse was like, "Okay."
Yeah. I started the season really disliking Jessie because I thought she was trying to instigate drama between Taylor and Miranda, between Jen and her husband. And I was like, Jessie, this is none of your business. None of these are your business. But then as the season went on, I guess they just stopped showing her doing stuff like that, maybe. But I just felt that, yeah, she was being taken advantage of. The thing she said about how she does everyone's hair for everything and people just take advantage of her, I really felt that. I really felt like that was the reality, especially Demi. And I don't know why. Okay, first of all, I guess the first kind of conflict they have is about Demi wanting to kick Jesse out of the show for more money.
Mm-hmm.
And they never
Horrible.
really, it just seems like any resolution the two of them have in their friendship is just because Demi decides it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Actually, Jesse's behavior reminded me a lot like Jen, where Jesse's like, oh, this person doesn't think it's a problem, so I guess it's not a problem. And then other people are like, dude, that's a big fucking problem. How do you not see that she's using you? Or like, friends don't do that to each other. And then Jesse's like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. So I do think it might be a self-esteem issue. Even her trying to instigate drama between Miranda and Taylor and Jen and her husband, that might also be a self-esteem issue. I think that was her operating as Demi's sidekick and not as her as a person. Because I think she's a good person. She just
Yeah,
gets swept into other people's drama.
I think so too. Also, yeah, the fact that she does the hair for everyone and then Demi is still like, don't go to JC Styles.
I was like, bitch, what the fuck? Also, she never in when they confront or when Jessie confronts Demi in the French market in New Orleans, and she's like, Demi, what did you actually say? I want to hear it from you, which I thought was a very good response versus, Taylor just like posting on Instagram about it or TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, she came to Demi. She said, I want to hear from your mouth what happened before I draw conclusions about it. And Demi did all she said was, that's not how it went down. But she never said how it went down. I was like, okay, then how did it go down? What did you say? Because clearly the message Taylor got was don't go to Jay-Z Styles.
Yeah.
So what could you have said that would make you look better right now?
Yeah. Nothing. The answer is nothing.
Yeah, that was a crazy bomb that Taylor
Yeah.
dropped.
Well, I'm glad they're not friends anymore. Seems like Demi would kind of like has basically sold out and would kind of just like do whatever she wants for the money.
Yeah.
As evidenced by her texting Layla asking how much money they were making for the brand shoot.
I am curious how often that happens. How often one of them gets a deal and the other people are like, oh, just curious, how much are you making from this? Maybe it's a normal thing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is difficult, right? Because they're a group of like 6 to 7 moms. And of course, they also have their own individual things. And of course, some of them are going to get more brand deals or less brand deals than other folks. I have a feeling that Demi got a lot of brand deals from
Season
season
one.
one. And especially for her being like Taylor said that she wasn't even originally supposed to be cast for the show. From that to like being a fan favorite was probably a lot of it went to her ad.
Yeah.
Um, oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about, speaking of Demi, is when Macy is talking about her book launch, they like show Demi's face and she is not happy
Just
the
like,
entire time. Yeah, I was like, dude, your friend is talking about something that has meant so much to her over the past couple of years, and this is like how she has healed from her trauma, and this is how you're responding? What
I
about
know.
loyalty? So important to you.
Do you think that was some editing to make it look more dramatic than it was?
I don't know. She actively looked pissed. So,
Do you think I think it's possible that they just took very short shots of her making unsupportive faces? Maybe it was during the truth box conversation, who knows, and just like edited it in to show
uh,
that she looked grumpy or something, just to kind of create the narrative that she's jealous and wants the biggest brand deals and, I don't know.
and then asked leading questions in the interviews.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, you're
So to
right.
just
I
get
should
it
be
in
more
our heads
critical.
that she is not a supportive friend and is competitive.
Yeah, okay. I should be more critical. You're so right, Shalini. So
I
right.
mean, who knows? Maybe she was pissed.
Either way, season two did its job. I think Demi is unequivocally, the villain of this season, which is a far cry from season one. If Demi was the villain, who was your fan favorite?
Yeah, great question. I did put a lot of thought into this. Honestly, I think Taylor just keeps coming out on top for me. Well, okay, let me say this. I think Macy is the most unproblematic, the most mature, the most badass, accomplished woman in that group. So kudos to her. I think she's great. I think she is the unspoken leader of Mom Talk. She
Mm,
really, holds the group together. But I think just for A, entertainment wise, and B, rooting for you wise, it's Taylor. She's just, even when she makes a mistake, it's just so endearing when she's like, "Yeah, maybe I just need to think about this for a bit." And then she's like, "Yeah, you know what? I am sorry."
she reminds me of Corinne from The Bachelor.
I don't watch The Bachelor.
Oh, okay. It was from a couple of seasons ago. Nick Vile, actually. It was Nick Vile's season.
Oh.
Corinne was one of the bachelorettes, and she was such a villain, but she was so funny. She was like, this is her iconic line. She was like, I have a heart of gold, but a platinum vagine. I was like,
What the?
and she would do the most unhinged stuff. She like napped through a rose ceremony.
What? Isn't that the
Never
whole point of the show?
never been done before. She just napped through it. And then the producer's like, should we go wake her up? She needs to be here. And then they're like, she's not waking up. What do we do?
What do
And
you mean
then
she's not waking up?
Nick's holding a rose and he's like, Corinne? So
Does she
funny.
even want to be there?
Yeah, she got like fourth or something. And I think she actually does have kids now. But Taylor reminds me of Corinne in that same kind of like unhinged villain, but also you can't. Yeah,
Unpredictable.
unpredictable, but you can't hate her because she's very charming. She has a lot of charisma.
There's something about Taylor where I think it's also that she really is an open book, and you know that she's not deceitful at all because she's incapable of doing that. Her emotions are always on her sleeve, and I think there's something really endearing about that. So, yeah, I think she's the besides Macy, who no one can touch her in terms of maturity and um badassness, but Taylor, my favorite, my fan favorite.
Yeah.
How about
I
for
think I,
you?
I think I feel similarly. Although I think I remember at the end of season one, I was like, Demi is my favorite, and then second place is Taylor. And I remember
Yeah.
feeling very positively about them because I think at the beginning of season one, I wasn't sure how to feel about Taylor, but then by the end, I was like, she's so open, she's so like
Her growth.
self-reflective. Yeah, she had a lot of growth. So I was like, okay, then I really like Taylor for actually doing the work and like getting to this point and also being the actual founder of Mom Talk. But this season, I still liked her. I just didn't like her as much as I did in season one. And I
Mhm.
don't know if that's just because my delta in season one was so great that I ended up really liking her, and then my delta in season two was not so big. So then I'm still at the same place, but it doesn't feel like I like her that much, you know?
Right. By that logic, is Zach your favorite character?
No.
Character! I said it again.
Character. Oh,
Just kidding, just kidding.
no. A man.
Please.
But I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be Taylor.
Yeah. I think no one besides Macy is really faultless this season. And so there wasn't a clear, like, yeah, you, I love you. But also, yeah, no one was, besides Demi, totally hateable like Whitney was in last season.
Yeah, for
Even
sure.
Demi wasn't totally hateable. Like, I still really felt so much empathy for her when they did, oh my God, pregnancy roulette. We have to talk about pregnancy roulette. But I felt so bad for Demi during pregnancy roulette.
Me too. I was
And the
like,
fact that when Macy and Michaela revealed themselves that they were the pregnant ones, she was like, guys, I'm so sorry for my reaction. And they're like, oh my God, no, it's fine.
yeah. Oh my gosh. What kind of fucking idea was that, Layla? What the hell?
Literally, okay, this is one of the moments that I think the producers instigated this because they
Oh.
obviously knew Macy was pregnant. They knew Michaela was pregnant because they had filmed that thing 3 days earlier. And they knew that Demi was trying to get pregnant, so they were like, let's create some drama around this. Hey, Layla, you should have this idea.
So hurtful.
Yeah, because also, I think if it was Layla's idea, people would have gotten mad at Layla for that, you know? They would have been like, Layla, this is really mean to Demi. Why are we doing this? But if the producers do it and you just have to do it, like, they just had
Yeah.
to do it.
But also, like, such bad luck that Demi was the one who opened the pregnancy test, the
I
positive
know.
one. What if they were all positive? What if more than two women are pregnant?
Did they even look at them all?
Who would, right? Who would dig through that pile of pea sticks and be like, let's check all of them just to be safe?
Damn. That shit was so fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I felt I felt so bad for Demi. I felt so bad for Macy because she was waiting to tell people.
And
And I
she's like,
felt so bad for Michaela because she couldn't be happy about her pregnancy.
yeah. And they
It
were
was
both like, well,
diabolical.
this is not how I wanted to announce to the group, but here we are.
Gotta do it.
Yeah.
But it was really sweet that they got to share that moment in their shared room about
Yeah.
about being pregnant. Oh, so
Yeah.
sweet.
I really like their friendship. Their friendship is lovely.
It's really cute.
Also, Michaela's, what is the opposite of friendship? Enemyship.
Hatred.
Oh, just like Michaela's hatred toward Whitney, like during the last episode, she's like, "Well, I fucking hate Whitney, and she's still here." So,
She kept using Whitney as an example of a huge tear in the group in front of Whitney. It's so comical at this point. She literally doesn't give a fuck.
and Whitney's just like, oh, "That's
And
so
then it
your
cuts
bad."
to Whitney's confessional and she's like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, Whitney's learned a lot.
Smart move.
Smart move. Yeah, Whitney's like, "I know the goal, and I will single track mind focus on that goal."
Yeah. She sees that goal, but then when it's like standing up for Taylor, she doesn't do that. And it's like, girl, you
Yeah.
so dumb.
So
You
why
so
is
dumb.
Whitney in the group and Miranda is not in the group?
I guess because Whitney was an OG. Well, I guess Miranda was also an OG,
Yeah, right?
right? Maybe because what has Miranda done to anyone? They were both OGs. They both left of their own accord. Whitney just did so more recently.
I guess so. Yeah, like even though they were both OGs, Whitney was a part of the group for longer and then tried harder to come back, I guess. Whereas for Miranda, they still are not sure about her intentions, maybe.
That's true. That's true because Whitney was a part of Mom Talk before the reality show versus
Yeah.
now Miranda could be just coming on to be a reality TV show star.
Yeah. But even
Yeah.
Miranda was like, I don't even know if I want to be part of this group.
Made me laugh. She said that in so many episodes. She's like, I thought I was joining Mom Talk for this reason, but I don't know. These bitches are messy.
Yeah, she's like, it's fine if I'm just a peripheral character.
They're like,
So
I don't know
why?
if we want her in the group. And she's like, I don't know if I want to be in the group.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
But damn, that bitch is pretty.
Oh my God, gorgeous. They're all so gorgeous and they have so
They're all
much
so
hair.
gorgeous.
They're
Yeah.
extensions, right?
They must
Gotta
be
be.
Jay-Z Styles extensions.
They must be. And they're getting a discount. That's why they all have so much hair. Putting two and two together over here.
Also that was really sweet when Macy comes to Jesse's store and Jesse's like, "Oh, your mom's extensions? She uses these." And she just knew them off the top of her head.
And it's
That
like
was
a
so
fucking
cute.
wall of hair.
A literal wall of hair.
And she's like, take these. I was like, wow, I need that for like foundation matching, you know? I just want to walk
Yes.
into Sephora and some lady is like, take this. I'm like, thank you.
Truly, truly imagine. Oh, I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Let me see what else. Oh yeah. I just thought overall this season was quite invasive. So here are examples of questions that I wrote down. Who is filming Whitney's home video and why are we literally watching her give birth? Why are we with Michaela's sexual trauma specialist? Why are we at Macy's embryo transfer? And how did they get so many shots of Dakota crying as he's driving away in his car?
Excellent questions all around. I definitely had the same question for Whitney's birth. I was like, I can't believe she consented to this. It's giving filming her baby for that RSV TikTok in the hospital that they talked about in season 1. Do you remember that?
No, wait, what was that?
She basically made a TikTok dancing next to her baby in a hospital while her baby was sick with RSV.
Oh, I
Yeah.
do remember that. Oh, I forgot that it was Whitney.
Yeah, it was Whitney. So this is the same woman that did that. So are we really surprised?
Yeah, fair point.
But yeah, the Michaela's
Sexual
sexual
trauma
therapist,
specialist.
sexual trauma specialist.
Hmm.
Yeah, why were we there? That seems like a HIPAA violation.
True. Well,
I
yeah.
guess if she was consenting to it, whatever, but
Yeah, I guess, but I was still just like, oh, I feel uncomfortable watching this. I don't want to be here.
also her story was so sad.
All of these girls have so much trauma, like actual trauma. They are not just
Yeah.
throwing that word around willy-nilly.
No, they are not. They are not.
Yeah.
It's not like my trauma of my mom telling me to turn off the pressure cooker and the pressure cooker exploding on me. I'm like, that's the trauma I live with.
My trauma is my mom saying, Ruchi, I'm dying. Zero trauma.
I have a few funny moments I wanted to highlight.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, okay, actually, before we get into that, one interesting thing I noted twice, and maybe it happened at other points, was that they used the same audio clip in multiple parts of the show a few times. So, one example I could think of is that in 2 different episodes, we hear Zach say, "She cries every day, and 90% of the time it's because of the girls." Like
Yeah.
first it seems like he's saying that as a confessional or something, but then it's actually him saying it to Whitney and her husband. So I thought that was just bad editing. And then, because he definitely didn't phrase it exactly the same time twice.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Michaela saying, "Am I the only one here with a brain?"
Oh,
They had
yeah.
that in twice also.
Yes, I did remember clocking that.
Yeah.
Because I laughed at it the first time, and then when she said it the second time, I was like,
This is less funny.
yeah. Law of diminishing returns.
Yeah. Okay. A really funny moment that I laughed out loud at was when at the Great Mormon Bake Off, when they're tasting Taylor's pie, and one guy is like, "This is really good." And she's like, "Really?" And then it cuts to her taking it out of the box and just reboxing.
I also wrote that down. I really laughed at that.
Taylor's apple pie is so iconic. I was like, that's a mother of a baby right there.
Yeah. Dude, also
Uh,
like the sourdough wars between Macy and Whitney.
oh my God. Oh, Michaela and Whitney.
Wait, no. No, so Macy and Whitney, as in like, who was the one
The
who actually
starter.
started? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I think it's safe to say we're on Macy's side.
Oh, 1001%.
That
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah. Okay, the next funny moment that I noted was when they were all at Layla's Friendsgiving and someone brought up the cheating rumor of Brett cheating on Demi, and Demi was like, "I'm always with Brett, like we're literally inseparable." And then Michaela's like, "Brett doesn't leave her for 4 minutes," and then her husband's like, "He only needs 2 though." That was so funny. Oh my God. I went back and watched it again because it was so funny. Okay. Then another moment that I laughed so hard at was when Taylor's mom was clearly trying to spell. Wait, can I say this word on this podcast?
Um, I don't know, but we've also said the F word a bunch of
So,
times.
yeah. Is it that much worse than the F word? Probably not. Well, she's clearly trying to spell a bad word that starts with a C, but then she spells it C W, and her daughters are like, W? What? What are you trying to spell? And
Yeah, I was
Taylor's like,
like,
where is she going with this?
also was confused because I was like, is she trying to say like SJW, like social justice warrior? And then I was really confused. And then, we talked about it. I was like, oh.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what she was trying to spell.
Hmm.
But
Crap,
who
right?
knows?
CWAP.
She's such a quap. Okay, and then the last funny moment that I noted was at the Christmas party in the very last episode when Santa Claus walks in, like in the middle of Demi's fight with Leanne, Taylor's mom, and then someone's like, "Are you from Chippendale?"
Wait, but also speaking of that party, I felt really bad for Taylor's mom. She really did not
Yeah,
deserve that. I mean, as
I know,
bad, I don't know. As much
I
as the
know.
relationship was like and the situation was like, well, this is also from us, like coming from South Asian culture, which is also very much respect your elders, you know, everything like that. It did feel disrespectful.
Yeah, it was sad. Well, I didn't really get why she started crying in the first place.
Leanne?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't think they showed all of it, but
okay. Yeah.
I think Demi was like cursing at her and stuff.
Okay, okay. Because it seemed, the way they edited it, it seemed like Demi was just saying, you know, you're saying that we didn't support her on this one post. She never comments on our stuff. We reached out to her so many times and she never responded, blah, blah, blah. And then Leanne just started crying. And so I'm
She
sure there
was
was some editing there because that doesn't make sense for her to burst into
Yeah.
tears
Oh,
after
the
that.
other thing that they edited out, I'm pretty sure, is the Saints and Sinners party when Demi and Taylor are fighting. I think Demi says something about Taylor and Dakota that I think they edited out.
Oh, about Ever, the baby?
Yeah, because maybe I don't know if I was not paying attention or whatever, but what I saw was they were fighting, and then Demi said, "Okay, well, why don't you get your why don't we talk about the way that you treat your your boyfriend Dakota?" And then some like shots, and then she was like, "I don't want to bring Ever into this," something like that.
Yeah, okay, and then that's all we see, but then everyone's like, that's so fucked up to bring her child into it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was also confused. And I was like, am I not paying attention? But I think I was. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so maybe there was some editing that they were just like,
there
"Oh
must
yeah,
have been.
this isn't cool."
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
weird because how is the pregnancy stuff cool? I don't know. I don't get it.
The show. Yeah, I think I'll be less excited for season 3. I'll almost definitely still watch it, but it won't be with the same anticipation that I had for season 2.
Yeah. Hey, we didn't really talk about the ending. Marciano from Vanderpump Villa.
Yes, that's right.
Um, do you believe him?
No. He came in and I was like, this guy also just wants more clout. Like, he's just spinning lies for fame.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
because
what I thought.
he started off with being like, "What did she tell you?" And I
I
think
know.
if that person and like it okay, if I was like a random dude and I had sex with a beautiful woman and someone was like, "Oh, what happened?" I would have been like, "It went down."
Someone fucking.
Exactly. But instead, he was like, "Well, what did she tell you?"
I know. He was so annoyingly coy about it. I was also like, okay, Layla, you're the one investigating here. Don't tell him what she said. You want to hear it independently from him.
I know, like, don't prime him. Come on.
And you know how you were saying Jen's dumb? I think Layla's so dumb.
I think Layla might be dumb too.
Yeah. She's such a follower too. Oh, I guess did you do any research on Vanderpump or did you have anything else to say about that?
Well, yeah. So I haven't watched Vanderpump Rules, or what is that
Yeah, I think there's
show?
Vanderpump Rules and Vanderpump Villa, I believe.
Okay. I haven't watched any of those things, but Vanderpump Villa is apparently just like a villa that's owned by one of the Vanderpumps. And Marciano is a staff at Vanderpump Villa. And then when they came and stayed at Vanderpump Villa, he was dating someone at the time who was also a staff member, and then they both got fired from Vanderpump Villa in that season with the Secret Lives cast. I don't know. Honestly, that's the
What?
extent of the research I'm gonna do. So, like,
That's interesting.
yeah, listeners, Ariel, since I know that you're into this reality TV show stuff, if you want to add anything, let me know, and it can be in the intro of the next episode.
Yeah, we can. It'll actually be great because we love doing oopsie doopsies.
Yeah, oopsie doopsies and funsy onesies. Okay, anything else to discuss? Let me see. Oh yeah, Jesse's party. Who could have known that that would go badly?
Not
Yeah,
only did you invite these people that all used to hook up with each other and or were married to each other, but then you also trigger your friend about the biggest fight in her marriage ever.
yeah,
Who could have seen anything go wrong?
so dumb. Oh, and actually, I did appreciate Taylor's sister. I feel like she's the only member of the family who's actually, to Michaela's point, the only one with a brain.
Yes, I agree. She really was the only one that stepped in and advocated for Taylor.
Yeah. Social media ranking time?
Yes. Okay, so I have looked up how many followers each of the Secret Lives wives have on Instagram. So I haven't looked at TikTok, so this is all for Instagram. And Ruchi, I would love for you to guess the ranking.
Okay, what are I need to write down the names first of all. I
Okay,
might
okay.
remember.
Okay, I'm not gonna look at the list because I might accidentally say it in order. I'll look at my notes.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 total.
Yes.
Okay, so I did go one through 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Should I just say a list of 8 names?
Let's guess one by one. So who do you think has the most followers?
Okay. Who I think has the most? I think Taylor has the most.
You are correct. She is number one with 1.2 million followers as of today, Tuesday, May 20th.
Oh, okay, nice. All right, number 2. Number 2 is hard, honestly. Jesse?
No. This she's a sleeper, honestly.
Ben?
Yeah.
Second choice.
Wow, good job. I can't believe she's second. She has 778,000 followers.
Wow, so many. She
Yeah.
seems like she's also just like really open with her emotions.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see.
people like that.
Yeah. I really wonder what the TikTok numbers are because I do feel like they're probably very different, right? Or maybe not. Maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
In tomorrow's or in the next funsy onesie.
Yeah, let's do TikTok rankings in the next episode. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Number 3, my guess is I'm gonna try again. Jesse.
Nope.
Dang, Jesse! To me?
Nope.
Love that. Okay, I'm gonna guess Whitney.
No.
Wow, who is it?
It's Michaela.
Wow, okay.
Another kind of sleeper. Yeah, she has 759,000 followers.
Wow. Okay, number 4, Macy.
Yes.
Nice. They seem similar.
669,000. So
Nice.
it really surprised me that Michaela has 90,000 more followers than Macy.
If I had to guess, I think it's because Michaela is dealing with her skin conditions and skin issues, and so she's also really open, also about like all of the sexual trauma and stuff. So there's a lot about Michaela that you want to root for.
Okay, my theory, maybe both of these are true. My theory is that Macy is so busy with her book and her baby mama company that she's spending less time investing in social media.
Well, that's a good point too. Hmm.
Yeah, they're probably both true.
Yeah. Okay, number
All
five.
right, so you have 1 through 4. Yes, number 5.
Uh, let's try for it. Demi.
No.
Jesse?
Yep.
Okay.
Jesse's number 5. Aren't you enjoying how low Demi is on this list right
I
now?
really am. I thought she was a fan favorite.
Jesse has 647,000 followers.
Nice. Okay, number 6, Whitney.
No.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah, she clocks in at number 6 with 565,000 followers. So she has 82,000 fewer followers than Jessie, and not even half the number of followers that Taylor has.
I wonder how much her follower count has dropped since the season has started.
I know. I wish you could see that, what her follower count was on Wednesday, May 14th.
Yeah. I'm sure there are some services out there that kind of do that.
Yeah. All right. Maybe another funsy onesie for next time if that's available.
Yeah. I think seven's gotta be Whitney.
Yeah. Whitney has 484,000.
Nice. And then eight is Layla.
Yeah. Who could have seen that one coming?
I feel like she's eight by a lot. Is that true?
Actually, oh yeah, I guess it's more than 100K. She has 368,000 followers, whereas Whitney has 484K.
Mm.
Yeah.
She kind of, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then just because I was curious, I looked up how many followers Miranda and Dakota had. Miranda has 256,000, which is 130 fewer than Layla, and Dakota has 118K, which is just about 10% of the number of followers that Taylor has.
Wow.
Yep.
I wonder who is the highest ranking dad in Dad Talk.
I think it's Dakota because I looked at Brett and Jordan, and they were both in the 15 to 20s thousands range.
Instagram, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like, the when I was an influencer, my
You
pal-
were.
my paltry 10K followers. Love
Hey,
each and
that's
every one of them.
considered some level of influencer. You got some paid deals, right?
That's true. I did get money from my time influencing, but I did remember that like being shocked at how different the Instagram numbers were compared to the TikTok numbers. I feel like the TikTok numbers, if you started on TikTok, the TikTok numbers were like 10x what your Instagram numbers were for the most part. So I wonder if that's the case here when we're talking about these big, big numbers.
Yeah, it might be.
I think also one of my like random Florida friends, he also got big on TikTok and I only saw him because he started posting on Instagram too and he was posting these high quality reels on Instagram and I was like, "Oh, is he an influencer now?" And so I looked at his bio and he had like 3,500 Instagram followers and I'm like, it's like not very many to be posting such high content. And then I looked at his TikTok I think a couple weeks later or something like that, and he had 34 thousand on TikTok, and I was like,
Oh my gosh.
oh, okay, that makes sense.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, cool.
All right, let's rate the show. Ruchi, what would you give this season?
Uh, let's say like a 4.5.
I was gonna give it a 6 because I still really enjoyed watching it, even though it was a shit show. Um, and I don't think I can put it lower. I think I gave With Love Megan a 5.5, and it just doesn't sit right with me to rank this show as lower than that because I
I'm
actually enjoyed
very
this
happy to
show.
do that.
In retrospect, I should have given With Love Megan like a 3 or a 4, I think. But anyway, here we are. So, yeah, I think the show gets a 6. I really watched it so quickly, and not because I had to for this podcast, but because I wanted to. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, going back to reneging ratings, I was listening to Deli Boys today and I was like, why did I give that show an 8? I feel like I should have given it a 7. Um, but yeah, I think looking back on this season, I think I started at like a 2.5 and then I kind of ended with like a 5.5-ish.
Mhm.
So I just picked some number there in the middle.
Fair enough.
Great.
All
Binge in
right.
progress.
Binge in progress. BRP.
Binge progressi.
Last thing, going back to Secret Lives. There were a few times in the show where someone was like, why would she just lie about that? Or like, why would I just lie about that? And it reminded me of, did you watch Drake and Josh growing up at all on Nickelodeon?
Not really.
Okay. So Miranda Cosgrove plays their little sister, Megan, and she's like this diabolical little child just messing with her older brothers. That's kind of her thing. And there's this one episode where she just walks into the backyard, lays down on the ground, and screams at the top of her lungs. And then her parents run out and they're like, Megan, what happened? And she's like, Drake pushed me. And he's like, what? No, I didn't. And she's like, oh, yeah. So I just laid on the ground and screamed. I was like, oh my God, imagine. So people do make shit like that up.
Wow, what a terror.
Such a terror.
Little siblings be like that.
They really do. All right, back to binge in progress.
In progress. Oh, one thing that I haven't currently binged this, but I forgot to talk about on previous ones. I started watching Royals on Netflix. But it's like an Indian Netflix show where it's an enemies to lovers romance trope between an Indian Maharaja, a prince, set in modern times, and the CEO of a startup.
Interesting premise.
Yeah,
What
so
language is it in?
it's in Hindi, but I mean,
Okay.
I almost said English, but I was like, no, it's in Hindi. They just like speak English. It's like English, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
They speak English half the time, so it's like, is it in English? But no, it's in Hindi, technically. Yeah.
Cool. I think my mom and my aunt were talking about that show. Would you recommend it?
I did not finish it. I felt like it was a little basic. I think it was, yeah, I didn't really relate to the main characters that much.
Mm.
And it was like obviously very predictable where it was going, and there wasn't enough to get me to keep watching. And like we said, we have so much else to watch.
Girl, our time is a hot commodity when it comes
Yeah,
to television content.
it's true. It felt very much like a Ransom Canyon type deal where I was like,
Mm,
I know where this is going. I know why people watch it. I don't got the time right now, honestly, so I didn't finish.
so fair. We
Yeah.
got Secret Lives of Mormon Wives to binge.
And Devil's Plan tonight, and Love, Death, and Robots, and Sirens. There's so much.
Yeah, there's so much. I have not watched very much since we recorded the last binge in progress, which was yesterday.
Shocking.
However, I have actually made progress in Gilmore Girls. I am now on the episode where I think Richard hires a secretary for his new business and then shit happens.
I don't know
Anyway.
why you're looking at
No,
me.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Don't worry. Anyway, that's where I'm in Gilmore Girls, and then I was just kind of in the mood for more children's movies, so while I treadmill walked today, I watched Madagascar.
Oh, while
Yeah,
you move it, move it.
correct.
Oh, how is that movie aged?
Oh, yeah, it's
Nice.
good. Yeah, I don't think there were any parts of it that were bad. But did you know that movie is from 2005?
That checks
20
out.
years old.
Yeah, that checks out.
Hmm.
Quite old, right? Even Shrek is like
Oh, yeah. Shrek
5.
has got to be from like 2000 or something.
Shrek is 2001, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, 24. Shrek is almost old enough to rent a car.
Damn, Shrek, you were so young when your movie came out. So dumb.
Thanks for yapping with us.
Let's end there. Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, follow us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!